Hello, and welcome to another video. This is episode 44 of the podcast. I'm still on holiday. I'll be returning home in a couple of days, but before I leave, I wanted to just film a video kind of recapping what I've done, what I've worn in terms of knit and crochet wear. So let's just get right into it. I've written down notes this time, so kind of reminiscent of the first couple of episodes. Yeah, so I've been gone for about 5 weeks at this point. I'm just seeing something that I made that I forgot to write down, and it's hanging, so I'm gonna go and pick that up. It's really windy at the moment. Hopefully not that much gets picked up on the microphone. I did do a check, so everything should go well. So I've been gone for about 5 weeks, and I brought a lot of yarn and ended up not doing all that much. I spent a lot of my time sleeping actually, so I feel very relaxed, very well rested, and very excited to get back into my regular day-to-day life, knitting, crocheting, and going back to school. So that's very exciting. Also, I have a very fun update. So my iPhone 8 that I've been using since this channel started to film with is on its last leg at this point, and so I decided to get a new phone, which means that next episode you're going to be seeing me in some more crisp quality, which I'm really excited about. And I think with that, basically the introduction is over. Let's get right into the things that I've been using, because I did bring a couple of crocheted and I think one knit project that I had finished this year with me on holiday, and I just wanted to tell you about the usage. Mostly I took with me headgear sounds strange, headwear, that's the word, headwear. First up, I have this crocheted flower. It's called it's from a Japanese crochet book, and it's called something, I think it's called Tsunagi Hana hairband, something like that. Attached flower hairband. Very cute, very fun. This was a very easy project that I finished maybe 2 weeks before I left, and I've used it about 2 or 3 times. It's been fun. I think it looks very nice with the hairstyle that I am rocking at the moment, just simple braids. So this has been very fun, but the problem is that it doesn't give a lot of coverage, so usually I'm just wearing this when I'm either inside or in covered spaces outdoors. Then I have this hat that I finished a couple of days, I think, before I left. This is a vintage pattern from Sirdar. I believe it's from the 60s. It's called Sirdar number 2297 crochet hat. I believe it's model B. And to be honest, I did not get a lot of wear out of this one. I think just because the sun has been very intense here, and so I have mostly opted for things that provide a bit more coverage. For instance, I think the the thing that that I've put on my head the most was just this brimmed hat that I didn't even make, but it provided very good protection from the sun, because there were a couple of days that I was out and about and there was really nothing around to provide shade. So this didn't really work all that well, I found out, because I remember talking about it being very cute, for fashion, baby, etc., etc. But honestly, functionality kind of won here. it's just not that great of a hat to wear when it's really, really hot. Having said that, this crochet bandana, chef's kiss. I have worn this so much. This is the second most worn head garment that I used during this holiday. It's just very cute and it provides very good coverage. I like how it looks with my braids. Usually I take one out. Usually I take one one braid out and leave it like this, and I think it looks very cute. We are using a motorcycle to get places, and so this doesn't work when I have a helmet on, but it's very nice that I can just flip it to the front and then turn it around, and then it's this type of scarf thing. I think it's just very, very functional and very fun. I'm definitely going to make one again soon, hopefully. I now realize that I forgot to tell you actually the name of this bandana. It's the ponytail crocheted hat pattern. I found this pattern for free, I believe, on the All Crafts blog. allcraftsblog.com. I will leave a link to that in the description box below. I think it's either a crochet pattern from the 60s or the 70s. Really easy to work out. I'm still very much a beginner, I feel, when it comes to crochet, and it was very straightforward. I think there are maybe 3 rows. You have your setup row, and then I think no, you have about 3 setup rows, and then it's 2 rows that you continuously repeat, and it's just single crochet, double crochet, and some chains. That's it. And then once you're done with that, you do some single crochets all around. I finished it in a day, albeit an entire day. I spent the entire evening, I believe, and also deep into the night working on this, but it was well worth it. I had a lot of fun making it. It's one of my favorite pieces this summer, definitely. So what else did I bring with me? Yes, I brought with me the sirdar number 5181 crochet waistcoat. I usually combine this with a green blouse. You've most definitely seen me wear this. Well, most definitely. I have a video on my channel where I'm wearing this combination. I think I've maybe worn that combination twice on the channel at this point, just because I feel that the colors work very well. But I think in the future I would like to have a blouse that has longer sleeves and a shorter body, and also a different color, maybe white. I'm not too sure, but I want something different to combine it with, maybe even a dress. I also would like to have some different versions of it. For instance, one with a peplum and one just in one solid color. In any case, going back to what I was trying to talk about, I didn't use this that often this holiday just because it was too warm for me. The blouse was fine on its own, but it started to feel a bit suffocating with the waistcoat on top. It was thick yarn, iron weight, cotton still, but still quite heavy, I would say, and it's tight around the rib cage, the chest, and just not very comfortable for such a warm climate. So I didn't get that much wear out of it. Then I have one knit piece that I did use quite often, and that is the tulia vest right here. Yes, this is a pattern from Mayflower. It's for free, although it is in Danish, but honestly it's not that hard to follow, and I think if you use an online translator you'll be able to get through it, as well as a knitting glossary, dictionary type thing. I'll leave a link to the pattern as well as a glossary, or the glossary that I used when I started knitting Danish patterns. I'll leave them in the description box below. So yes, this is 100% cotton, just a very simple top down flat, knit flat top that I made. This is actually the first piece that I knit or crocheted using cotton. It's a bit windy here. Sorry about that. And I got quite a bit of use out of it, mostly just when we were alone and not many people were around, because I actually didn't really like the look of this piece on me. I don't know exactly what it is. I don't think it's the pattern. I think it's the shape. I think I might have wanted this a tiny bit longer. I've thrown this into the washer, I think about 3 times at this point, and the first 2 times it came out warped, in the sense that the body shifted a bit to the left, I believe. Yes, and it was looking a bit strange, and I was actually quite surprised by that, because I did actually knit this flat, and that was something that I was trying to prevent. I wanted to prevent the piece from biasing, but at some point it did. But then the third time that I put it into the washing machine, it warped back, and so now it's fine. And I think, to be honest, that I'm going to be leaving this top here and just use it when I'm here, because I did mention a couple of weeks ago that I wanted to make a second version from this, instead of going top down, going bottom up, and in different colors. I think creamish white, or just plain white, and a bit darkish blue. And so I'm definitely going to make it longer than this one. Also, one thing that I wanted to mention is that one mistake that I made was the way in which I did the seams. So what I did was I just used the original yarn for seaming, but what I should have done was take that yarn apart and maybe take 2 or 3 strands and then seam the piece, because the seams got pretty thick, and I actually tried to sleep in this a couple of times, but I kept waking up because I was lying on the seams, and it was very uncomfortable because it was just so thick. So that's something that I have learned from this piece. I have seamed with other projects, but the thing there is that either the sweater was really oversized and it wasn't a problem, or I used very fine yarn for the piece, and so just using a regular strand of the yarn didn't really affect the thickness of the seam all that much. But definitely something that I would like to keep in mind. I just remembered that I have another piece that is still inside, so I'm going to grab that very quickly. Oh my gosh. How could I have forgotten? My finished Inga sweater I brought. No, it's not. It's not the Inga sweater. It's the Norma sweater. Yeah, the Norma sweater by My Favorite Things knitwear from the isager archive collection. It's the only sweater that I brought with me. It does get quite cold in the evening, although most people here don't really feel that way. I'm usually the only one with a sweater at night, but I don't even care because this looks so fabulous. This looks so good. I have worn this so often. I've gotten so much use out of it. Definitely these two, perfect I don't know what to say, but this has this has very quickly become my favorite sweater ever. I loved the colors, I love the feel of the yarn. It's from a Norwegian brand. It's called Viking Eco Highland wool, and it's just so nice to knit with. I do have to say that I at first had to get used to wearing this next to skin, but actually it's very nice. I think the only thing I would have to say with regards to this yarn is that it pills so much, and I've removed actually quite a bit of the fluff, the pilly things basically, and it just keeps on going. But hopefully, maybe after a couple more wears, I'll definitely wash this once I get back home. Hopefully it will get a bit less, and if not, I don't really care. It's just so comfortable. Oh, I love it so much. I'm so happy with it, and I'm so proud that I made the adjustments that I did to get it to a size or a fit, I should say, that makes me feel very comfortable in it. I'm just very, very happy with it. So I think those are all of the things that I brought with me. Yes. So let's get into the things that I made. I have a couple of things that are finished. Not many. I finished the Venus top by Lizard and Hook. Or Liz and Hook, as they're also known by. So the yarn that I used for this piece was Drops Belle. So it's 53% cotton, 33% viscose, and 14% linen. It's a DK weight yarn, 120 meters per 50 grams. And the colors that I used, I'm a bit unsure with the second color, but the first color is definitely number 25, bosbruin, and the second, I believe, is sand, number 24. I had initially thought to use this for a free pattern from, I think it's called Svarta Fåret. It's a Swedish brand, and they had this design from Wool and Beyond. It was this wrap skirt and wrap top, I believe, but I don't know what happened with that, and I ended up making this one. This has been a pattern that I've had for over a year now. I've spoken about it in the recent couple of episodes, I believe. It's a bit vague in my mind now since it's been almost 2 months at this point, but I struggled a lot with this pattern, mostly because the instructions for sizing were not sufficient to get something that would fit. Actually, there was just not enough information. Also, I forgot to mention the hook size that I used, 3.5 millimeters. There wasn't really a specific suggestion, I would say, or recommendation. It was done in kind of an unconventional way, in the sense that the fiber content and the recommended hook size that the brand gives was recommended, if that makes any sense. But there's just so much variation that comes with that I just kind of winged it eventually. I had tried using some other type of yarn. I used a cotton merino blend. I think it was Drops Cotton Merino. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. And then someone said that my color choice looked like a butthole, and so I changed it to these kind of bland colors, which is fine. I'm happy with them to be honest. But yeah, I had to do a bit of figuring things out myself. I had to measure my, I guess you would call it my front bust and my front lower bust, and I made my own swatch because the swatch sizing in the pattern as well wasn't that clear, because I think it was only the first 3 rows of this pattern, but depending on the size that you used or were trying to crochet, I hope if that makes any sense, but the size of the, how would you call it, the motif would change, but there was only one size given, so I had to do some calculations, and I think it worked out. Yeah, I made some modifications. I think the center, the center motif, I took out 1 row. Maybe I should tell you about the construction. Okay. Basically, it's just a bunch of motifs, pentagons and squares that you make, and you seam them together. I believe I just used a mattress seam. I think I did, or I whip stitched it, either of the two. I think I did a mattress seam, and you seam them all together. You make cords to basically wrap it all around yourself. I didn't really look at the instructions for the cords. Basically what I just did is I made a very long chain, and then I started, where did I start with the chain? I'm not too sure. I did record a lot of the progress, but I made a chain, and then I did slip stitches in the chain, and then I did that for a small section here and connected the two. Did that on the other side, and then for the back I just made a very, very long chain and then slip stitched it and then threaded it through the holes on the side. My first attempt just following the pattern, it didn't really look, it looked too exposed basically. There was just too much wardrobe malfunction chance. Essentially every single time that I would pick up something, it flooped out. So that wasn't great, and so I went back and I just did, I think I did a single crochet at the top, a single crochet edge at the, here you can, oh, can you see it? I think you can see it here. I think you can see it now. I made a single crochet edge at the top, and I also did that in the triangle to give it a bit more structure, and then also at the bottom as well, and I think that really helped it. And so I wore this and I took pictures in this, and then I realized I had a wardrobe malfunction because the holes of the motif were too big. So I don't have pictures to actually show you how it looks on me, but when I get back home I'm going to try and find some lining fabric and just line the cups of the top, and then I think it will be actually fine to wear. This has been about a year-long journey, not completely, but there have been a lot of attempts made with this one, and I'm happy that I finished it. Moving on to something else, I have, ta-da! Wait, let me do it correctly. Ta-da! Yes, I made a washcloth. Yep, I just didn't have one with me, and I decided to use some of the leftover Drops Belle to make it. I used a free pattern from Drops, and I'll leave that in the description box below. It's just a lot of double crochet. Yeah, you start off with a chain, then I believe you do a single crochet row, and then you just do double crochet. But the thing is that you do regular double crochets, and then you do double crochets where you go underneath the double crochet from the row below, and so you get this very cool waffle type texture. And so this was actually just supposed to be a square, but what I did was I made it a long rectangle, and then I closed up the sides using single crochet. So here and here you have some single crochet. The inside looks a bit different, a bit more of a, I would say, lighter texture, but it's nice that you can actually use both. I like it, and I was thinking maybe I should leave it here, but I think I'm just going to bring it with me and just use it, and then maybe make another one, because I use washcloths at home and I don't really like the ones that you buy in the store. So yeah, I have an update on the granny square bag. I don't know if I mentioned this in a podcast episode. However, I did mention it in a crochet thingy that I wanted, or a crochet video talking about the patterns that I wanted to work on this summer. So it's called the Granny Square bag, and it's a pattern I believe from Baldwin and Walker. I got this off of Etsy, and I could trace back the origins, not completely, but definitely to the people who supplied the yarn, and it seems also designed this piece. So for this I used Drops Paris, which I've acquired quite a bit of just because it's an Aran weight yarn and the colors are very saturated, very fun to work with, and I'm mainly using it for crochet, so it goes very quickly actually. So yes, there you have it. It's 100% cotton, Aran weight, like I said, 75 meters per 50 grams. And the colors that I'm using are 8, 31 and 39. I'm only sure of the color 39 being called Wasabi in Dutch. I think it has a different name color in other places. But in terms of how much work I've done on this bag, actually quite a lot. Let me tell you about the construction a bit. From what I can remember from the top of my head, I had to crochet 27 squares, granny squares. I used a 2.5 millimeter hook, and I got squares that were, I guess, slightly smaller, no, bigger than the gauge swatch required, but I didn't really mind it because it's just a bag, and I actually wouldn't mind getting, how would I say it, getting a bigger bag, because the bag seemed quite small anyways. Yes, so basically you crochet 27 squares and then you seam them all up together. You double crochet, I believe, the gusset around the bottom, I should say the bottom, and then you fold the bag over and then you crochet the other side together, and then I think you still do a round of single crochet all around, maybe two, I'm not too sure, but I'll get into that once I cross that bridge. Also, I explained it, I think, quite clearly in the video I mentioned, and I'm making a vlog about it as well. So either way, I made 27 of them, 9 of each of these. They're in this bag. I actually finished crocheting these squares back home, and I only seamed everything here, which actually took quite some time because you're changing a color every single row. And so if I calculate this quickly, so I had 9 of each, times 3 is 27, times 3 again is 60, plus 21 is 81. Is that... No, that's not correct. It's so 81 different types of strands, and a strand has 2 ends, and so it comes down to 162 ends that I had to weave in. And so I did this maybe 3 or 4 mornings when I was the first one to wake up and it was still quite cool outside. We have some strays that have been coming to the house for gosh knows how many generations at this point, and the most recent mommy cat that has been coming in the last 2 years or 3 years regularly is Kuro, and she now has 3 baby cats. So it was really nice watching them grow up because they're really small. I think they're now about 8 weeks. And so I've seen them grow up this holiday, which was really nice. Just being outside in the morning, sewing, giving them some food, and watching them play. It was fun. Yeah, so the seaming process really wasn't that... It didn't feel that tedious, luckily. So I'm very much so looking forward to getting back home. Maybe I'll already start seaming the squares together here, I'm not too sure, but I'm looking forward to lining the fabric. I did bring with me the lining because I thought, oh, maybe I can do this by hand, but I actually want to use my sewing machine for the creating the appropriate size for the lining, making sure that the ends don't fray. So I guess I would have to use the zigzag stitch on my sewing machine because I don't have an overlock or overlocker, however you call it. Figure all that out and then whip stitch it to my bag. Very excited for the process. And also what's really fun is that this matches the colors from my Inga sweater that I've been working on. I didn't finish it before I left. I think I mentioned that as well in the last podcast. But I ended up buying the last ball of yarn this holiday, so it's at home right now. So when I'm home, I'm just going to do the last couple of rounds of the body, seam everything. Then I think I am going to first just iron block it, and then I'm going to wet block it maybe after a couple of weeks. I still have yet to decide, but very excited for that because that would then be the third Isager archive sweater that I'll have finished this year. And the reason why I actually waited to get that one ball is because I just wanted to get it, for one, on sale, and 2, with other things so that I wouldn't have to pay shipping costs and thus make it cheaper for myself. And so I ended up buying a sweater's quantity for the Esther cardigan. I've been having some issues with the gauge. I tried some different yarn that I had in my stash, but I think I have the right one now. And I also bought some yarn for the design of the what's their name? I think it's called Other Loops. This other Danish designer that was part of the collection. Very excited for that. It's 100% alpaca, and I got this off of Edna. It's a Dutch website, but it's from Sweden, so they sell yarn from Sweden. I think it's the Dutch website for Järbol, which is a Swedish yarn company. That's kind of my thinking here. And they had a summer sale, and I managed to get a bit of their alpaca solo yarn, which I think goes for about €9 for 50 grams or €8 for 50 grams, which is quite expensive for me. But they were selling it, I think, for €4, which is very nice. And the thing is that a lot of the patterns from the isager archive collection are oversized and use DK weight yarn, and that's the same for this sweater right here. Mostly they hold the yarn together, but I actually tend to like to use just one single strand. In any case, with this one, like I said before, I just modified the pattern in terms of just reducing certain numbers to make sure that I got the right amount of ease at the places that I wanted to have them. And that's not the only way that you can modify or change the fit of a sweater. I was reading a Japanese book a couple of months ago, and I've spoken about this as well on my podcast, about modifying sweaters in more, how would I say it, in kind of quick hacks. So to speak, where you don't have to redraft everything. And one of the suggestions was to use a different type of yarn. And so the alpaca solo is a sport weight yarn, so 1 weight below DK. And so I'm going to try and see how that is going to work out for a sweater. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and make a large swatch, get all my numbers straight, because there is also some color work in there, so I might have to make a swatch that is just plain, and then a second swatch that has the color work, calculate that, and then see how much ease I would get if I would use the smallest size, because if I remember correctly, the smallest size would give me about 23 centimeters of positive ease, and I found that I like it more when it's about 10, 15-ish. So that's going to be exciting, a different technique. I'm documenting all of this. It's going to come up on my channel at some point. So now I would like to move on to the last topic, and that is swimwear. I have been talking about vintage, crochet, knitting, swimwear for quite some time now, and I've done a lot of research, and I've had a lot of opportunities to go and swim. As you can see, there's water behind me. I have swam quite a lot of times, and I got kind of a reality check from that experience. And to just give a bit of a conclusion, I have learned that I need more time and more research to actually get it right. So I have this one right here that I showed, I believe, in the last episode. Yes, so this is a pattern, I believe, from the 70s, probably. It's from Penguin. That I do know, and I struggled quite a bit with the pattern because it wasn't very clear, and the pattern originally suggests a fingering weight yarn. That didn't work out. Sport weight yarn, that didn't work out. And then I ended up just using some Aran weight yarn, drops Paris, and I kind of figured something out for myself. So it's not really the original pattern, but it's in spirit, it is quite the same, quite similar. But yeah, I think I've shown it, but I finished this when before I left, and then I treated it at home with a waterproof solution that should work on natural fibers. This is 100% cotton, like I said before, so it should work. I did do a test. I did do a test, and I dropped some droplets of water on it, and it seemed to work. But I took it into the sea and it got soaked. not quickly though. I should do, how would I call this? I should do a test with another of these. I am going to make another of these and see how that works when it's untreated. In any case, the results were okay, I think. Not very pretty, but they were okay. In the sense that I did have a couple of wardrobe malfunctions, but my regular swim bikini, my regular bikini, I had that as well. So I don't know if that just says that I have a poor choice in bikini or that it's kind of bound to happen. Basically, I am quite rough in the water because we have a band that we try to climb on top of, so things do shift. The nice thing about this is that because it has straps, it is adjustable at the neck, so you can push things a bit higher when they start to sag, or push things a bit tighter when they become loose. So that's a nice feature of it. But the chest area here was not great because I don't know if you can see it here, but it stretched out quite a bit, which meant that the cups kept getting further and further away from each other, and so the chance of slippage was increased every single time I went back into the water. So I had to rethink this design and actually just shorten this piece here. So I'm actually working on a new one that has the original colors or ones that are quite similar. So I'm working on a cup that is a bit bigger than the orange one. It looks a bit pointy here, but trust me, it's okay. And then I still have this color here, same yarn again. So I'll be working on that when I get back home. This is definitely a project that is going to take a very long time, years maybe even, but I'll keep giving updates. I also figured that I need to line these as well to ensure that it doesn't stretch out, just for extra stability basically. That's also something that I have learned. Also, yes, this I found, despite the waterproof thing and despite it being very hot, it took quite a bit of time to dry, and I think that's just because the yarn is thick. And that's also something that I have learned, is that it's probably better to use thinner yarn. It'll speed up the drying process, which is kind of straightforward, but also, I don't know, I just kind of am figuring out things, you know. Having said that, I did make another top that was meilenweit, and I'm definitely going to be lining this one. Ta-da! So this is part of the granny square bikini. Does it kind of count as something that's finished? I guess so, but it is a twofer. It is a set, but whatever. So it's from Leisure Arts Great Grannies from 1975. And again, I used Drops Paris. I'll be making projects for these on Ravelry at some point, so I'll have more detailed information about the colors. I think I'll just put them here in post anyways. I don't have much internet here, so I just kind of had to work with what I had. Yes, so this is a granny square bikini. Actually pretty cool. You're using squares to make a cup shaped form. I'll give you a close-up. So this is the fit. I used a 4.5mm crochet hook. There are holes in here, and I don't think it's all that bad, but I feel it's just good to get a nice strong lining in there, just also for keeping the shape nice. So basically the top no, the first 2 rows are just regular double crochet granny squares, and then you do, I think, either 1 or 2 rows of single crochet depending on the size that you have. And I decided to do single crochet but then through the back loop, just because I kind of like the way it looks. So I did that, and then the original pattern actually has ruffles all around, and then the bottom is single crochet, but I did not really like it. It looked quite messy, the ruffles. I think it was something like chain 4 and then single crochet, chain 4, single crochet, and it just looked, I don't know, it wasn't for me. And so I started looking online for possible edges that I could use, and I came to the conclusion that I might like to try blanket stitch, but then with crochet. So what you basically do is, what do you do? Yes, okay, so yes, is that correct? Yep. Yes. Okay. So what you do is you single crochet through the back loop, and then the moment where you do these indents, you actually do just a regular single crochet. And so I did this all around the cup, and then I added another row of single crochet at the bottom. I like the way it looks. It has quite a bit of coverage. Definitely listening to the pattern, I would have got a very, very tiny bikini top. And so I just went up a couple of crochet hooks because the gauge, or the swatch, no, the gauge, my gauge is way off. It's way bigger than the pattern suggested. I have an original cup still at home, and it's just this much smaller, so it was not gonna work for me anyway. But I'm happy that it's looking good. I could even use this as a bra. It's actually quite comfortable. I made straps the same way that I did with this one and also the Venus top. So I did chains, and then I slip stitched them, and then I sewed them on to the sides. So I made four cords of 45 or around 45 to 50 centimeters, and it looks fine. I'm happy with how it is. There's also a bikini bottom, and I'm still working on that at the moment, but it's going to be something that I'm probably going to maybe take a break from after I get home, and then do it in a couple of months, because I have so many exciting projects waiting for me at home. Speaking about exciting projects, I have made a start on the bikini sets from the Constanze strickmoden issue 2 from 1952. That was a nightmare to receive, and I finished one piece of it. Ta-da! Honestly, I am so happy with this. It wasn't even that hard, but I just love the colors. You're probably not getting a good, how would I say it, a good indication of what it looks like, just because the sun is going down. It's very orangey at the moment, but I'll give you some information. So the set I'm working on right now is model 37. This is the strandröckchen, the beach skirt. It's a bikini top, bottom, skirt, and then a sleeveless top. Or beach cover. I used 2.5 millimeters for the skirt, and the yarn that I used was meilenweit 100% cotone vegano, which is a fingering weight yarn, 420 meters per 100 grams. The content is 75% cotton, 14% polyamide and 11% polyester, and one of these two plastics are the ones that provide the elasticity for the cotton. The colors that I'm using are 17 and 18. I made some modifications to the skirt. I knit this off gauge. I made a swatch flat and then I knit this in the round because that's what the pattern said. The construction is as follows. You start at the top and you just knit in a circle. You have an 8-row pattern, 4 colors, 4 rows of one color, then 4 colors, no, 4 rows of one color and then 4 rows of the other color. So that's what you start with, and then quite early on you're knitting in stockinette stitch in the round. Then quite early on you make 1 row of pearl stitches in order to create the folding edge, because you actually put elastic in this. And once you've done that, you knit to the point where the edge pearl row is in the middle, or at least I did, because you can also just continue on knitting and then fold it and secure it. But I actually just instantly knit the edge together with the current row that I was working on. And then after a couple of rows, you start increasing evenly over, I think, every 20 stitches, something like that. And you just do that up until the bottom, or very close to the bottom. You work a number of rows straight, and then you make a garter stitch edge. And that's it, basically. You insert the elastic, which I've done. Basically what I did is I left out about 8 rows of the edge that I didn't knit together, so I could put the elastic through. So cut the elastic to my comfortability on my waist, if that makes any sense, and then used a safety pin to go all around and get it through. And then I sewed it, and now it's like this. I at first tried to make this seamless in the round by jumping every color change about 5 rows, but it wasn't looking that great. You can actually see where I jumped, so I just said screw it, I'm just gonna go straight down. So you can see the jog here. Not too bad. I did slip the first stitch to make it less obvious, but it's still going to be there. I just followed the pattern. The first time that I cast on, I just casted on too many stitches. I thought I had, I definitely didn't meet gauge, because I knit my swatch flat and then I knit in the round, and my knit stitches are bigger, and so it was way off. And so I started over. I took out maybe 40 stitches, and now it's good. The pattern does not have any short row shaping. I'm sorry it's getting dark because the sun is setting very soon. We're back. Okay, so but yes, as I was saying, what was I saying? It did not have any short row shaping, and maybe I should have considered that, but I kind of just wanted to knit it as close as possible. The gauge stuff didn't really matter all that much to me because it was just mostly a tube with increases. But then adding some short rows, I just didn't think of it, actually, I think. And in any case, it worked out. It doesn't exactly look like the picture. It's definitely longer than the picture when it's on me. But is there anything else to say about this? Does it? Yeah, it's definitely longer. I feel more comfortable in it. It was quite tight at first. I felt it didn't look like the model at all, but then I blocked it and it widened a bit and it looked a bit better. very happy with it. I've actually not worn it, to be honest. I think I just want to save it because it is for a set and I don't want to be wearing it often and then washing it and then the color fades and then it's not the same as the bikini top and bottom. I am making a vlog on it. It's very exciting. I did start the cups. I had to rewrite the pattern a couple of times. Well, not a couple of times. I had to translate it first and then write it out for myself. But it's just not nice when you're not at home. I don't have a printer. I don't have a lot of pens or highlighters and all that stuff. So I'm just going to work on it at home in the comfort of my own home, which I'm really looking forward to. I was feeling a bit homesick this past week. I just like my house, my own home. Also, on top of that, there's this excitement of the projects that are waiting for me, the start of a new school year, and also I managed to find so many nice constanze strickmoden magazines just by, instead of looking at eBay, going to the German version of Marktplatz or eBay. You have Kleinanzeigen and you have booklooker.de, and so I've been looking there, and because I'm not German, they often don't have any information in terms of postage, shipping, and so I do have to send them emails and talk to them and explain, and they've been really cool. So I think that's where I'm going to leave it at the moment. I have some projects that I'm starting to work on. I have the babushka, the flower headscarf, and I also have a kind of bikini cover-up tunic thing as well. But I don't think it's worth mentioning at the moment. That will probably come in the next podcast. In any case, I hope that this episode wasn't too chaotic. It was a bit off the cuff, but I hope that you still enjoyed it. I really liked talking about the things that I worked on this holiday. Reflecting on the pieces that I work on is always very fun for me, and I hope that you got some enjoyment from that as well. In any case, I will see you in another video, hopefully soon, in better quality and back in the Netherlands. Take care. Thank you as always for watching, and I hope to see you soon in another video. Bye bye.